Tennessee, where today on Speed Channel, the NASCAR Busch Series qualifies for the Friday night tilt here at the steepest bank track in NASCAR. The cars are at the line and ready to go, and at the head of that line stands Bob Dillner.
Well, the number 17 Bear Racing Taurus sits and waits in the garage area, and that's because Winston Cup points leader Matt Kenseth goes out 47th out of 52 cars here. So, Matt, the question is, what are you going to do in the meantime?
Just sit around. No, it's probably good to go out late here, so I feel good about our Bear car. It's been pretty decent since we've been here. I think we were like 9th in practice or something. I think we can do a little better than that, so hopefully we'll qualify good and get a good spot to start for tomorrow night's race.
As the qualifying goes on, the weather is going to get hotter and hotter. What is that going to do to that racetrack, and is that a disadvantage or an advantage to go out later?
Well, I think it'll cool off. I don't think it'll get hotter. Maybe it won't, but the qualifying starts a little after 3 here. By the time we go out, it'll probably be 4:30 or 5. So I'm hoping that as high as these grandstands are now, the track should cool off a little bit. So I'm hoping the track will pick up a little bit and get a good starting spot. Starting positions aren't that important everywhere, but this is one of them places where it's nice to be up front and try to stay out of trouble.
We're going to let Matt kick back and relax. To you, Marty.
Well, Bob, here in the spring, David Green started on the pole, same exact car today, but is it good enough to get on the pole today, David?
I think so, Marty. Track's a little hotter right now, a little slipperier, which we see here year after year, and we ran a really good time there a while ago. Car was pretty good. We made a small little tweak to it, so hey, if I hit all my marks like I did in the spring, we'll put our Timberwolf Pontiac on the pole. If not, we'll be right up in there with them.
Boy, this race for the championship is incredibly tight. Just 2 points separate you and Scott Riggs. How much of a bullet is Bristol to dodge when you're trying to win this championship?
More of a bullet the more you think about it. I mean, I love this racetrack to death, but you come in here and you look left and you look right and you think, oh my gosh. But, you know, if you respect it, which I've tried to do over the years, and if you have a good race car, race team, and I've got the best in the business right now. I want to say hi to all my guys back at the shop, working hard, preparing for the following weeks. But it's a big bullet, so Scott and I and everybody else has to really be on their toes here this weekend.
All right, 5th fastest in the morning practice, guys.
Thanks, Marty. Let's have a look at the Busch Series points. David Green, Scott Riggs, 2 points apart. Jason Keller within 100. Hornaday and Vickers within 150. Bobby Hamilton Jr. within 300 points of the lead. Pretty tight pack there at the front. Welcome to Bristol. Mike Joy with Larry McReynolds and Jeff Hammond. And something we don't often see in the NASCAR Busch Series, 52 cars, Larry, in that garage. 51 of them will take time. Quickly doing the math, 8 go home. This is going to be a pressure-packed and fast session.
Well, definitely it's going to be a fast session. If you can think about what it's like to hold your breath for 30 seconds, that's what a qualifying lap here. And I love the question that Marty Schneider asked David Green, because even though there's 11 races to go, 148 points as you saw separate the top 5, this is a big bullet, and it starts today, because if you qualify at the back, when they have that first caution period, you're going to be 3/4 of a lap down when they restart this race. So definitely qualifying good as Bristol is as important as anywhere these guys go.
And, Jeff, one reason for that, the closing rate here is so fast, and the disparity in speed between the front of the grid and the back of the grid is going to be fairly great.
It really is right now, Mike, and we watched some things early on today during practice. A lot of guys were struggling at this racetrack. There's so many drivers do not have a lot of experience at Bristol, and Bristol is one of those racetracks that, man, you don't really want to face it as your first, second, or even your third race, because it is a very treacherous racetrack. You got to get up on that wheel, and things happen so fast on this little half mile, it can get yourself in trouble really, really quick.
First car to take time will be a Busch Series rookie. We'll be right back to Thunder Valley on Speed. NASCAR Winston Cup replay. All the excitement of the GFS Marketplace 400 coming up next. Right here on Speed. Let's go back downstairs and Marty.
Jason Keller was fastest in the practice this morning. Jamie McMurray giving Jason some grief. You can't see that because he's off camera. But I will tell you about Jason's race car. And going out late, will that be a disadvantage for you being the fastest guy in practice, Jason?
I got to think about it a lot more probably. But I don't know. Usually the concrete tracks stay pretty consistent during qualifying. So hopefully that's the case. And got a great race car. And looking forward to capitalizing if we can.
Big announcement for you guys, or I guess bad news this week, that Albertsons was not coming back. It was my recollection that they had a July deadline. Well, did that come as a surprise to you guys?
Well, they did have an earlier deadline, and they were trying to work things out, and unfortunately they couldn't. But had a great relationship with Albertsons, and I told them that my goal at the beginning of the year was win them a championship, and I'm going to do everything in my power to try to do that. And I want to end on a good note. And with them or without them, we've got to have somebody on this race car, and I got to have a job next year. So all that said, we're just going to do the very best we possibly can, and going out and winning the pole today would be a pretty good deal.
And the best way to do that also is to win races, which he's done here before back in March of '99. Bob?
Marty, you already spoke about how good David Green is at this Bristol Motor Speedway. His teammate is a rookie, Joey Clanton. Your first trip here to Bristol, did David give you any advice?
Oh, he pretty much just said go out and have fun. I mean, because, there's nothing like Bristol. You come here, and, I mean, you got the stadium, you got the crowd, you got the people. And we come up here and watched the truck race last night, and they had, I don't know, 50 or 60,000 people out here for a truck race. And it's just all to come around here and run around here, and the banking and the speed. I mean, you make a mistake, you're going to find out what it is to be a rookie at Bristol.
You're an ASA champ. You ran Winchester. You ran I-70. Having run those tracks, any help coming to this place?
I think it helps a lot coming to this place. I mean, really and truly, I mean, to me, it's not really that much faster. But, these cars are a little heavier, and they do to run the fast times. You got to run fast around here. And, we're just trying to get this Trend Spot Pontiac up front and just see how good we can get around here to see if all those tracks really helped out.
And guys, Joey is running the same car he finished 5th with at Pikes Peak.
Joey was 24th in practice as drivers await the 3:15 start time for qualifying about 6 minutes from now. Jason Keller was quickest in practice ahead of Brian Vickers and Michael Waltrip. Just because we're here doesn't mean trackside is tonight. They keep reminding me it's tomorrow night. Trackside at Bristol. From up on the deck, Tony Stewart, Greg Zipadelli, Terry Labonte, and David Green will join us tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
Quite a host of characters we have there.
Not to mention us being the characters on that stage with them.
That'll be fun. Here's Marty.
Well, Mike took a look at the speed chart early in the day, and Scott Riggs was up there. And then I took a look at the end of the day, and Scott Riggs was 20th. What happened?
Well, just made some changes on the car and put our car in qualifying mode, and we're pretty good at first and just made some changes and never could get any faster. So we decided to make some different changes for qualifying. So, it's not too bad. Everybody on this Quick Forward's working hard. Didn't unload the way we needed to. I think the track's a little bit different from the way the track was in the spring. So we took some of those changes back out, put some more changes in it, and hopefully we'll still be able to have a good starting spot like we have in previous years here.
Being in the race for the championship, it's probably important to take kind of a respite from the busyness of the sport. You took your guys whitewater rafting yesterday. What was that like?
Oh, it was really cool. We had some buddies there on Pigeon River, I think it is, and we had a good time. It was 2 rafts full of us, and we did everything from swimming and splashing each other and surfing on some waves.
None of that, no, not splashing each other, was it?
Oh yeah, there was a whole lot of that, and a whole lot of racing to the finish line. So it was pretty cool. It was good times.
Pitch anyone into the river?
I got pitched into the river.
Oh, no, I can't believe they would do that to you, Scott. He's our championship leader by 2 points, Bob.
Well, Kevin Harvick and Johnny Sauter are doing the triples here at Bristol this weekend, but this guy is doing the double, both the Cup Series and the Busch Series, but you go out way late. Is that going to help you?
Yeah, I think it's going to help us out a lot. Hopefully the sun will get behind the stands and cool the track off a little bit, but real excited to be here with Stacker 2 and YJ Stinger. Got a great race car, and we tend to run real well here.
How about the Cup Series? You came here with that car, you tested. Are you up for the challenge there?
Yeah, I hope so. Our test wasn't the best, but we were here gauging off of Rusty Wallace and Michael Waltrip, and you're just not running as fast as them, so you don't think you're that good. But we're excited. We're hopefully going to have a real good run over there, just make it in the race. And last year we made about 160 laps. This year we'll try to make it at least 500.
Guys, keep an eye on Scott Wimmer. He's one of the up-and-coming stars here in NASCAR.
Cars on track when we come back to Bristol Motor Speedway. Welcome back to Bristol, where the NASCAR Busch Series drivers are about to go after David Green's track record set here in March, 15.169 seconds. The race record, 15.417, set by Mike Skinner here 2 years ago. First car on track will be Martin Truex from out of New Jersey, driving the Chance 2 Chevrolet.
I just look at the racetrack here. Now, this is concrete, and this is asphalt. This was one of the first Winston Cup tracks to go full concrete back in 1992. And you heard Jason Keller talking about the track temperatures. We see Martin Truex go out for his qualifying run. Right now, the track temperature on the concrete, which is what is important, is 117 degrees, much warmer on the asphalt, 133 degrees, and it takes a big temperature swing to change that track temperature on the concrete.
And Larry, that's probably one of the best things about concrete is that it's not quite as temperamental as asphalt is, but at the same time, in some ways, it's a little harder to get grip on concrete, so you really have to work at trying to get your combination to work here. As we take a look at Martin Truex right now as he gets ready to complete his first lap. And Mike, I wanted to point out and say, do you recognize that car color from way back when? That right there is a car color scheme that Darrell Waltrip used to run many years ago when Robert G actually painted the old 17. Had blue numbers and that what I call terminal transport color.
And Truex, the first car on track, is the new race record qualifying holder. Oh my gosh.
For the August. Yeah, the track record itself is David Green, 15-16, but yeah, the August record. And I'm going to tell you what, guys, he picked up quite a bit from what he ran in practice. He ran a 15:57, and his first lap was a 39, so he picked up almost 2/10 from where he practiced.
That's what you call getting up on the wheel. And that's one thing about this racetrack you can do. You can really get after it if you want, if you feel like it. This racetrack will allow you to do that.
Tammy Jo Kirk has 2 Truck Series races under her belt here. And 1 top 15 finish to show for them. She's in that Advil Liquid Gels. Number 49 Ford.
She was 40th quickest in practice. And Mike, I think you were saying now there's 51 cars here. That means that, as you said, 8 cars are going to go home. You must beat at least 15 cars to guarantee yourself a spot in the fastest 36, which is based on speed.
And this is going to go by pretty quickly, so it'll take some fast math to work out who's here for tomorrow night.
Yeah, get to work, Bill.
And who goes home. All right. Hey, Marty Snyder has the new race record holder.
Actually, no, I do not.
I'm sorry.
I'm with Kevin Grubb, but you know, I can send that to Bob Dillner if he has him, or I can talk to Kevin. Let's talk to Kevin. I know you want to win here. This is almost like a home track for you, isn't it, Kevin?
Yeah, I tell you, since the first time I came here to Bristol, I've been pretty fast. I think first time I came here, I qualified second or third. And seems like whenever we have bad times, I can only come to Bristol and make it better. So hopefully that'll be today.
He's been on a little bit of a rough schedule lately, and they have scaled back their schedule actually a little bit here in the last few weeks. Kevin Grubb going out in just a moment.
Tim Fedewa on track, 15.57, second quickest on his first lap. He started 3 times in the top 10 here.
Tim can do like everybody else has done and pick up on his second lap. He should move up a little bit.
Slow down.
He didn't do it. He's the first guy that's kind of slowed down, which he was just a little bit slower than what he was in earlier practice.
They were one of the teams that tested up here. I was really surprised of the 51 cars that are here, how many actually came up here and did a test session over the last couple of weeks.
But Larry, I think right now as we take a look at David Green as he gets ready to go out, again, track record holder for him here in the spring, some of these guys realize how important it is to qualify well here so you can start up toward the front and get a preferred pit position. I mean, it's so important here. If any other place we go to, you need to start up front.
David won the spring race in 1994. Remember when Mark Martin pulled off on the white flag lap? Might have tickled the wall there just a bit, but he's fast. 15.359, the new race record holder.
He tickled that rev limiter too on both straightaways. Again, these things have a box that goes in the ignition box where the crew chiefs will put different RPM chips, and it's the biggest thing it helps you do here is keep you from overdriving the entrance of the corner.
David Green looking for his 3rd Bristol pole. The man he bumped out of the top spot is with Bob Dillner.
And Martin Truex Jr. ran much better during his qualifying lap than he did in practice. But Martin, you said you're still not completely happy with that. Why?
I was real happy with the first lap. You know, it was obviously it was our better lap. It was about a 10th better than we run in practice, which I was pretty happy about. Just tried to get after a little too much on my second lap. Got in a little too hard. It's kind of easy to overdrive this place. So I'm pretty happy with that. We'll see where it ends up.
You came here and tested, but tomorrow night you get to run your first race here. What are you going to think about that?
I'm real excited to be here. This is a pretty neat place. So I think our race trim package is a whole lot better than our qualifying, so we should be in really good shape. Can't wait for happy hour tomorrow night.
Another one of those rookies, guys.
Joey Clanton's 13th Busch Series start will come here at Bristol. He's the ASA champ, as you've learned, and it'll be his first try here at Bristol Motor Speedway. He's 4th of 5.
Everybody's really running quicker on their first lap. I think that shows how hot the racetrack is. That's when you have the best grip on those fresh tires.
Kevin Grubb just had a wild ride, nearly lost the car twice, but he's turned the third fastest lap so far, 15.499. He started outside pole here in the spring race of 99. Also, while we were away, Jason White clocked in at 16:28. 7th of 7 so far.
See right there, he jumped back in the throttle, got a little loose with him back in 3 and 4, and real loose up on the straightaway coming off turn 4.
I get ready to say a little loose and real loose. Come on, Larry.
He was a little loose when he get back in the middle of the corner, real loose right there.
One thing about this racetrack, and talking to several drivers, this racetrack, they almost kind of like look at it like you pitch and you catch the car. You kind of pitch the car down in the corner, and as soon as it starts to take a set, you catch it and go drive it off. So it's like a pitch and catch type of racetrack. Can you believe that?
A control slide.
Exactly.
Nashville's Brad Baker, the Timber Guard Trust Joyce Dodge, 6th of 9, 15.809.
And a lot like the last car that just went, the 26 car Kevin Grubb, this car uses engines, Dodge engines from Terry Labonte's engine company. I think we talked about that back in July at Daytona.
I talked with Fred Wonky right there, who's working with this group right here, and he said they came up and they tested here and they thought they were going to be pretty good.
And his second lap was quicker. Bobby?
David Green on the pole so far, but will that lap hold up?
You know, I think it will. We had the misfortune of going early, bad draw you might say, but my car felt really good like it did in practice, and I think a lot of times waiting late kind of wears on your mental state, so hopefully Brian Vickers and those guys can think about it all day long here, and might not go as fast, but my car did exactly what it's supposed to do. Felt so good, I tried to run my second lap, about spun out, but my Timberwolf guys did another great job, tough old racetrack, and we're going to be right in the thick of things again.
A lot of guys getting squirrely on that second lap, Jeff.
Yeah, they really are right there, but I think the reason for that is, again, the first lap feels good, and they think, man, I can get just a little bit more out of my car, and when they try to go over that edge right there, the grip's not there, is it, Larry?
A little bit will send you over the edge in a heartbeat.
Jamie Mosley in the 39, slowest of 10, or slowest of 9, 16.659 for the London, Kentucky police dispatcher. Norm Benning was scheduled to go, but that car did not practice. Didn't get its way through inspection, so Norm will not be making a qualifying attempt. Totally NASCAR, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time right here on Speed. Steve and Kristen will catch up with all the news in NASCAR. What a busy week this has been.
Didn't make the entrance.
Now the red flag is out because that car did not make the entrance. The 39 car is still on track. It's come to a halt just off the racing surface, but outside the pit wall. So that's going to be a tough break for the 61 of Steve Grissom, past series champ, who's already got a little bit of the good worn off his tire from trying to get up to speed there.
Car's already got warm, and you know what? It wears on you mentally too. You were ready to qualify, then you had to stop right before you get started.
Marty?
Well, Casey Atwood, 15th fastest part-timer in the Busch Series these days. And how's the car, Casey?
It's not too bad. It's pretty good. We come here and tested last week and had a pretty good test. The car's a better race car than it is a qualifying car, but hopefully we can get in top 10, top 15 and have a good race.
You spent some time on a sub last week or the week before that, didn't you? All night long on a nuclear sub. What's that like?
That was a pretty cool experience to see how those guys live in such tight spaces. You know, there wasn't much room to walk in there, but it was pretty cool, and hopefully we can get the Navy car up front today.
All right, again, 15th fastest in the afternoon practice session here, guys.
Casey Atwood set to go, and now Steve Grissom's going to get pushed back. Now likely they'll send another car.
Probably let his car sit there and let it cool down just a little bit, as well as the tires, and make it to where it's somewhat fair, because again, this was not Steve's doing, so they're trying to be fair about this situation right now.
And the biggest thing, these guys have to qualify on sticker or brand new tires, and what little bit he went around the racetrack, he got those tires hot, and then when he came off the racetrack, it picked up those rubber debris on his tires, and it'll make him feel like he's got a flat tire. There you see that this is the crew chief right here. That's Ricky Pearson, David Pearson's son. He's working with Steve as the crew chief on that car.
A lot of experience right there between he and Steve both, so you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see Steve go out there and run a pretty good lap. He wasn't too bad in practice. He was 27th fastest, but I don't be deceived about the timing right now, because of the fact that this racetrack is so close as far as the times are concerned.
All right, Grissom has chosen to go ahead and make his qualifying run rather than wait. NASCAR gave him that option. decided to put it on the track. 93 Series champ.
We talked about it earlier. He may have been in that zone, Mike. He's mentally ready to go, and he doesn't want to wait any longer. He wants to get it over with.
He won both the races here in 1995, the only Busch driver to sweep both races here in 1 year.
Well, let's see if it pays off on the watch. The DCT Motorsports Chevy. Grissom is 7th on his first lap, 1594.
1594, he ran a 1576, so he right now on his first lap, he's about 2/10 off.
I would think this would be better, and it is, but not enough to make a difference, Larry. 7th quickest. Marty?
Mike, evidently drivers get bored when they're down here waiting for qualifying, because Jamie McMurray spent the last 5 minutes while I was interviewing my last interviewee pouring water on my leg. What are you bored today or something?
No, I didn't pour the water.
You conducted the pouring of the water.
No. One of the crew members on his car did, and he was blaming me for it, but I was very innocent.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you're innocent. Started 5th in the last 2 races here. How's the car today?
Not as good as it was in the spring, but we made a few adjustments. Man, it's loud here. I
know that.
But just a little tight in the middle, so we knocked some right front spring out. If it doesn't make it too loose in, we should qualify pretty good. But this place is just survival. Cool racetrack. I'm glad to be here.
Even fun for the drivers sometimes.
John Hayden on track, the number 85. Hayden making his 2nd trip to Bristol, the Premier Glass Chevy. He started scratch and finished 21st here in his first appearance this spring.
9th quickest on his first lap at 16:27. That's 4/10 quicker than he ran in practice. Loses a little bit of time for 16:27. That's going to be very borderline, though, of getting in the fastest 36, I think. I think you're going to have to at least run in the 15-second range.
You're going to have to be right there, or at least definitely low 16, high 1590 something. It's going to be a very tight field.
Ron Hornaday's average start this year is 9th, which is among the best in the series. And if we were keeping averages, he has only 1 start this year out of the top 20, and only 4 starts out of the top 15.
They have definitely been on their qualifying game this year. Ron was 8th quickest in practice. He's going to be 4th quickest on his first lap at 15:51. Michigan really put a hurt on these guys in the points. He finished 28th last week. He's sitting 4th in the points right now.
Lap 2 for the AC Delco Chevy, and it's quicker, moves him up to 3rd with a 15:49. David Green, Martin Truex, Ron Hornaday, pace qualifying. Coverage of NASCAR Busch Series qualifying from Bristol, brought to you by Parts Plus, America's family of auto parts stores and service centers. 12 drivers have made their qualifying runs, and most recently the driver who is 2nd quickest, Jay Sauter, in the Food Country Chevy.
That's a good run for Jay.
Also Brad Teague, the Johnson City driver, ran a lap that is 10th quickest, 16.11 in the Ramey Ford. Bob?
Grissom a little bit slower than in practice, so having to restart your qualifying lap, how bad did that hurt you?
Well, I mean, it's one of those deals you go out there and you're ready to take the green and you come back to the red. But, you know, the main thing is we got a pretty decent car and we'll just take it and go from here.
Tough break for Steve Grissom, but guys, good to see him back here.
Justin Ashburn, number 60 31W installation. Chevy, best start of the year, 29th at Nazareth.
Yeah, talking about Steve Grissom, I talked to Ricky Pearson. They're talking like they may run some more races before the end of this year.
Good.
More Busch races.
Whoa, Ashburn's first Bristol appearance. The 21-year-old from Tennessee. And he's going to be 10th right now of 15. Marty?
Ted Musgrave filling in for Jimmy Spencer this weekend. Is that Spencer's seat you got to fit in, Ted?
I couldn't hear a word you said, but all I'm trying to do is fill in for Jimmy and hope to get this thing up near the front. Have a good day tomorrow.
All right, there you go. He's one of the next guys to go out. That is Spencer's seat that he's sitting in with a lot of padding in there as well. But Ted's car was pretty good earlier, was 2nd fastest at one point today.
Now, Ted's as big in the shoulders as Jimmy, so ought to work okay.
Broad in the shoulders, but narrow in the hips.
Scott Riggs. atop the series standings and loosens it up, but he wins the pole for now. 15.323, knocks off David Green. The Nesquik like a bunny Ford right now has the top spot.
Picked up over 2/10 from what he ran in practice. You know, in his interview, he said he thought he could.
Looking for his first pole of the season.
Well, I got news for you. When we go back and take a look at it.
22 first lap. Good job, buddy.
Right there's his crew chief right there, Doug Randolph. And yeah, he's pretty excited about that, but I don't think Doug could see him coming off of turn 4 like we could.
Bob.
Chase Sauter is back to third now, but still all smiles, especially for you. You're a part-timer.
I'll tell you what, my hat's off to these guys. We came and tested last week. Tested fairly decent, but we unloaded this Food Country Chevrolet today and we had trouble. We had a clutch problem and stuff. We went to work and we took our best guess here for the qualifying run, and it was pretty much right on the money.
And Jay told me he thinks that should be good enough for a top 10 qualifying run. What do you think, guys?
Well, it's Charlie Henderson's home track, and they always put a special effort into coming here.
In this car right here, the 14 car, Casey Atwood, a lot like Jay Sauter, this team came up here and tested. And Jeff, talking to a lot of the teams that tested, it sounds like the biggest thing they found out was things that were bottoming out underneath the race car, things they had to go back to the shop, cut off, and try to raise up, because just like everywhere else, they're trying to run these cars softer and softer. And I'm going to tell you what, that's a good run for Casey. I think testing paid off. He's 4th quickest, but I think that's the biggest thing that helped these guys was finding out what was bottoming out, because if something's bottoming out, you're not going to run fast here.
Definitely so.
Ted Musgrave is next. Here's Marty.
4th fastest this morning was Kevin Harvick. How's the car, Kevin?
The Payday Chevrolet is pretty good. Been working on it, just trying to get the car to turn a little bit better to center, and so far so good. We put in qualifying trim and ran a couple good laps, so I'm really just kind of trying to wonder why Larry's neck is so red. Looks like he's.
What are you talking about?
It looked like he's really sunburned on TV.
Come on, Larry Mack, you worried about him?
What? Has he been vacationing?
No, Larry, you've been vacationing.
It's summertime. I've been working on my tan.
Been working on his tans, what he said.
But I should let the sunscreen go down on my neck, not just my face.
Yeah, he's going to work on getting sunscreen everywhere next time, though. We should teach him how to do that, shouldn't we?
Looks like he did a good job up here, but man, it looks like it hurts down there.
All right, Ted Musgrave is
work on that one. All right.
3rd fastest with a lap of 15.372.
I guess Daryl's not here, so I'm the next person in line.
Race driver and fashion advocate, Kevin Harvick.
And, of course, Jimmy Spencer, that was supposed to be driving that 6 car. Jimmy was the defending champion of this race, winning it a year ago.
And that was the Food City Dodge of TBR, Tommy Baldwin Motorsports.
I can't believe Harvick's on me.
But Spencer was scheduled to drive. He is serving a weekend suspension for the post-race altercation last Sunday with Kurt Busch.
All I got to say is better you than me.
You'll be next.
Thank you.
Ashton Lewis Jr. in the Civil Air Patrol Chevy. 10th quickest, 15.59.
What a pickup from what he ran in practice, about 0.4 of a second.
He tried to get some more over in turn 1 as well as down 3 and 4. The car really went up the racetrack that last time up there.
And he paid the price because he slowed down almost 0.2, but he'll be 10th quickest.
Scott Riggs is fastest. David Green, the 2 guys leading the points, may lead this field with the green flag. We'll see. Caleb Holman, the Pizza Plus Chevy, 15.996. That's 15th fastest, and kind of close on the break point, you think?
He really is right about there, but he helped his cause quite a bit because he was 37th in practice this morning at a 16.28, so he picked it up almost 3/10, so that should put him right about that magic number. We're looking at the high 15s, 16 flat getting the shot.
Also, Mark Green made his run. He is 10th fastest at 15.58 in the Ortec Racing Chevy. Here is Stacy Compton, who finished 15th here in the spring. His best qualifying effort here, 5th in March a year ago.
And he's working without his crew chief, at least today, Steve Plattenberger. Steve's wife had some major surgery this week, so Steve decided to stay home, but we hear she's recovering nicely, so we give her our well wishes. Steve, I think, should be here tomorrow night for the race, though.
Well, that's good news. And that car, Jeff, really took off on his first lap.
Yeah, he really did run as good a lap as he did. The car didn't seem like it was under him very well at all. It went up the racetrack quite a bit down in 3 and 4, but he got a pretty decent time and improved upon it on the second lap and put himself up there in 10th place.
10th quickest now for Stacy Compton. Bob?
Well, last week, Scott Riggs said his car must have a magnet for David Green because they're always together, and you're always together. Well, here again, here at Bristol.
Yeah, I don't know what we got to do. We got to get away from that 37 car somehow and get some distance between us and him and the points also. But just proud of all my guys on Nesquik Ford. Did a good job here. Unloaded the race car today, and the track was a lot different than it was here in the spring. So struggled with the car being a little too tight all day today. Finally got it freed up pretty good there. And I talked to my dad on the phone a little while ago, and he just told me to get all I could get and to hustle it as hard as I could for 2 laps, and that's what we did. And I don't think that'll stand up for the pole, but it'll be a lot better than we were in practice.
Marty?
Well, the last time we came to a short track, Brian Vickers put on one heck of a show. Did that give you a little short track confidence winning an IRP, Brian?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, it was a really good day for us. It was good for the GMAC CarQuest Chevy, and I'm happy to be back at the short track. This is an awesome racetrack, and it's exciting.
All right, he loves this Bristol racetrack, loves all these short tracks.
Butch Jarvis on track. Interesting paint job. The Davis Marina SponsorUs.net Pontiac. The number 53 at 1667. That has likely got a going home look to it here for the Tennessee Mountain Boys. Last night, you saw it on speed. Coming to take the white flag, that's Kevin Harvick leading. No, he's not.
I talked to his Busch crew chief who was helping him last night, Butch Hilton, and the speculation was, and boy, you hear it there, that's a terrible sound. But the speculation was that maybe the tire didn't necessarily fail, but they wasn't running brake blowers to cool the brakes and cool the tires. It possibly just cooked the bead of the tire with the heat from the right front brake.
The bigger shame was that Harvick, who you now see in the Payday Chevy, was racing for the Victory Junction Gang camp last night in lieu of a sponsor on his truck, trying to help raise money for the camp for terminally ill children that the Petties are building down in Randall, North Carolina. That is a charity that we all hold very dear.
That 21 right there just now set on the pole, my friend, at 15.245. I mean, that right there was a pretty quick little lap.
That is a good lap. I'm telling you, what a year this group has had. I mean, they've had 3 wins, 2 poles, and even though Kevin himself has only run 10 races this year, he's led the most laps of anybody in the Busch Series.
Bobby?
Ted Musgrave is in the car that Jimmy Spencer was supposed to drive, as Marty said before, but how was that lap, Ted?
The lap wasn't too bad. I think that should be about maybe 10th. Like I say, Tommy Ball, and it's his car. I just want to be careful with it, you know. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow night with it. It ain't my fault, but it's good. I mean, all we did is, you know, that Jimmy's supposed to drive it. We just put a bunch of pillows and seats and phone books and all that kind of stuff in the seat and kind of fit me in there. And here we are at Bristol.
There's the answer to Marty's question.
A lot of phone books. Hope it's the Charlotte phone book, and, you know, not like the Mount Airy phone book. Coy Gibbs, as they close in on the all-time track record, David Green, 15.169. There is Gibbs clocking in 16th fastest. Marty?
Well, he had a lot of fun last week in Michigan running the NASCAR Busch Series race, but Bristol's a different animal. You ready for 250 laps tomorrow night and 500 Saturday night, Casey?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this place is awesome. It's one of those places, every time you come back to it, it's faster than you remember it. You know, it's just an awesome place to drive, and we got the Target Dodge running pretty good today, and I think hopefully put in good effort.
He's been pretty impressive in these Busch Series starts, helping him out a lot on Sunday.
Brian Vickers bounced it off the apron. Nevertheless, second fastest on that first lap.
He was bouncing around, but he was wide open on that throttle.
Talked to him a little earlier today, and he told me this place right here is better than a roller coaster ride. He really enjoys racing here at Bristol, and by his qualifying effort right there, kind of proves it out.
15.255, that is 1/100th of a second off Kevin Harvick's present pole time. Bobby?
A lot faster than in practice for Kevin Harvick, but the big question is things seem to be getting faster here. Is that going to hold up?
It might, but it'll be close. I mean, somebody could step up and beat that, so we'll just have to wait and see. Good lap for the Payday Chevrolet, and just a little bit snug, but that's what we're shooting for.
Kevin Harvick on a roll. He won the Busch race here in the spring.
The 22 from Danny Boss Motorsports, Dana White. That's the Gator Tough Product Chevy.
And Dana, he's 42 years old. He owns the company nationwide that builds and sells those portable carports that you see in people's backyards. Ran the Legends cars out at Lowe's Motor Speedway, and then he moved up to the late models and late model trucks up at Hickory, and now he's here running some Busch races.
16.604 is going to be 26th of 28. for Dana White. Nonetheless, that car may have enough provisional points to make the show. Now, he also missed the entrance, but he's under power. He's going to back up and get to it before the 7 comes around to take the green. That is Greg Biffle driving for Randy LaJoy, or excuse me, driving the car Randy LaJoy started the season in, the Kleenex Food City Chevy. I think that makes 3 Food City cars in this race.
Yeah.
And why not?
Boy, look at Biffle. He's all over the place going down the back stretch on his first lap. This is the car that these guys actually raced at Michigan last week. And now, instead of Wally Rogers being the crew chief, who's been the crew chief all year for this car, Brian Patty, who heads up Nemco Motorsports, he's the crew chief because Wally Rogers has moved on to other ventures in the Craftsman Truck Series.
First lap's 11th for Greg Biffle, and the second lap slower. Kevin Harvick is quickest so far. Brian Vickers, Scott Riggs, David Green, and Ted Musgrave. Stanton Barrett on track in the NRA Foundation Chevy. Dion Ciccarelli clocked in 26th at 16:37. Barrett's first lap is 22nd fastest.
Yeah, he's lost a little speed from what he ran in practice, but Jeff, that car, it's just not gripping the racetrack. It's not down in the racetrack. He picks up a little bit. That'll put him 21st quickest on his second lap.
Yeah, this is actually a 2002 bodied Chevrolet, and you give up a little bit of downforce right there. And if you remember, Stanton was driving for Roush Racing earlier this year before their sponsorship went away. So he's just trying to continue his racing career the best way he can. As we see the 19 car, Casey Mears, getting ready to go out on the track, and talked to him earlier about his physical condition, Mike. And last week he took a pretty hard lick into that outside wall, but he said he actually felt pretty good. His neck was a little sore the first day, but after that he said he feels fine and really looking forward to racing here at Bristol.
That was a glancing blow, but a hard one nonetheless at those speeds.
This team here is Todd Braun Motorsports. It was here in the spring with Chad Blunt. I've never seen a team go through what they went through in the spring. They wrecked 2 race cars in practice and qualifying. Then they took those 2 cars and pieced them together for the race and actually ended up in a wreck in the race as well. Casey's going to be 19th quickest on his first lap at a 15.90. Picks it up about a 10th and a half, up to 18th quickest, 15.74 on his second lap.
Here's Bob.
Brian Vickers and I joking around a little bit. Brian, we told you hit the apron and you didn't even know?
Yeah, I knew. 1 lap. I mean, every lap. This place, I mean, it's just so fast. I mean, I'm convinced this is the fastest racetrack we go to. When I'm in that race car, this is it. I mean, you go around here, you're beating, banging, it's rough, it's fast, you're pulling G's, it's awesome. But, man, we were just that close, you know. The car was awesome through 1 and 2. I mean, we got through 1 and 2, unbelievable. When I got down 3 and 4 and it pushed up a little bit in the center, and it cost us that much. But, hey, hands off to Kevin. He did a good job, but I can't say enough about the GMAC crew. They did an awesome job in practice.
Close, but no cigar from Brian Vickers. Marty?
Bob, about 8 cars until Michael Waltrip goes, and he has an eye to the sky. We've gotten a cloud here, Mikey, and it's gotten a little bit cooler. Can you touch Kevin Harvick's lap?
We think so. Our car's been real good all day long, so big night tomorrow night for the Aaron's Dream Team. We've got Ken Butler, Charlie Loudermilk, all the people from Aaron's coming down for all the festivities under the lights here in Bristol. So we'd like to be on the pole when they get here, and I think we got a shot to do that.
3rd fastest in the practice this morning, and Larry Mackins, it feels like about 5 degrees cooler now that this cloud's come over.
That means these race cars, they'll be getting a whole lot more grip as that track temperature cools down. Here's Jay Summers. He's going to end up 20th quickest at a 15.90 on his first lap.
And here's the one for Jamie McMurray, the yellow freight Dodge, 21st in practice.
We talked about Jimmy Spencer being the defending champion of this race a year ago. This was the team he was driving for, and even though this is a Dodge now, 2003 Dodge, this is the same chassis they had here a year ago. This team yesterday, though, they've had quite a week. They were at Richmond, or they were actually at Greenville, South Carolina yesterday, testing for the Richmond Winston Cup race with Mike Wallace. 2 Winston Cup cars. The race is in about 2 weeks. The throttle hung on one of those cars. He almost completely destroyed that car, but Mike Wallace was fine. And Jamie's going to end up 8th quickest on his first lap, 15.39. And, you know, you hear Brian Vickers talking about the speeds of this racetrack, and there Jamie slowed down a little bit on his second lap. It's a little over a half-mile racetrack. The banking is 36 degrees. That's more than the degrees of banking at Daytona, at Talladega. Even the straightaways are banked 16 degrees. That's more banking than some of the mile-and-a-half racetracks have, and that's on the straightaways here.
That's why this place will be filled to the sky come Saturday night. The toughest ticket in all of sports is the Sharpie 500 at Bristol.
You can figure there'll be about twice as many people here Saturday night that'll be attending the Super Bowl here in a few months. About 3 or 4 times as many people be attending the World Series right here under the lights Saturday night.
All I can say, guys, if I have to buy a ticket, this is where I'm going to buy a ticket to come watch a race.
Where are you going to buy it?
Yeah. I'm going to buy it right over at Darrell Walker Grandstands. If I don't, he'll be on my case.
Larry Gunson. The Waterloo Tool Storage, number 16.
It's going to be 27th quickest on his first lap at a 16:22.
No, but Jeff, Larry, where are you going to go to buy one? This race has been sold out forever.
Well, we'll have to talk about that a little later on. I think there's a guy standing up here in the corner right there that's got a few tickets left over if he's willing to pay the price.
I always love the 2 guys standing beside each other. One says, we'll buy tickets, and the one beside him says, need tickets.
Right.
Well, why don't y'all 2 just get together and you don't have to go through all this?
Businessman.
Okay.
Oh. I'll explain it to you later.
I just never have understood that program.
Speaking of unexplainable things, Wind Tunnel is now 4 nights a week with Dave Despain. That's my favorite show. 9 o'clock tonight. He's had some great guests. Mike Helton is due on there. 1-866-W-TUNNEL. Dave will take your questions, he'll take your opinion, and shove it right back to you on the air and over the phone. 9 o'clock.
See Jeff Fuller here.
So you want to get my opinion? He is a little bit loose right now. He's really fighting this race car.
Fuller has been doing testing and development for this Joe Nemechek team, and they said we're going to put the whole package under him at Bristol, give him a car capable of winning the race, and you know, kind of as a reward for what he's been doing for them this season.
And he actually won his only Busch Series race here back in August of '96, so he knows his way around this place. Slows down a little bit on his second lap. Jeff, I think just a little too loose to run too fast.
He really was. He saw right there, even coming up the speed right there, he was loose coming up to take the green. So it really makes it tough to get that forward momentum, but you need to get hooked up here to run very fast.
But Fuller's 18th. He is in the show for tomorrow night as Johnny Sauter brings the Channel Lock Chevy out.
He's got a busy week this week. Besides running this car in the Busch Series, he was in the Truck Series race last night. See that car look like it bottoming out down in 1 and 2. And then he's going to race the Morgan McClure number 4 Kodak car in the Winston Cup race this weekend as well. Actually tested it up here. Good run for Johnny, though, on that first lap. 13th quickest at a 15:56.
Well, they really need to work on getting that race car up off the racetrack because he is really dragging the tailpipes hard down in that corner. And they won't stay on it very long if you expect to do that all night long.
Slows down about a tenth, so he'll be 13th quickest for now on his first lap.
Larry, I'm not too sure that bottoming out right there didn't cost Johnny a little bit because he actually slowed down quite a bit compared to what he did in practice.
And you know what I have found, Jeff, and I know you have found that the driver is going around here so fast and things are happening so fast, sometimes he don't even know it's bottoming out.
Oh, a lot of times you don't. That's the reason why you get on top of the truck to try to help him out. Speaking of fast, this here was the fastest guy in practice. Let's see what Jason Keller can do. And talked to his crew chief earlier today, and this is the same car he's been bringing this racetrack since, what, 2000, Larry?
2000, yeah, a car that he won at Dover with in 2001. Was talking about body styles. This is actually a 2002 body style that they're racing here.
Did it on the pole.
15:22. They're starting to flirt with a track record now. They're only about a half of a tenth off the track record. Not something didn't just go right down and turn 3 and 4 on that second lap. I think he tried to run that 15-16 on that second lap.
You don't see many one and dones here at Bristol, but Keller had taken over the pole from Kevin Harvick. One was enough.
That's that experience coming through right there, Mike.
Marty?
Well, this young man, Bobby Hamilton Jr., is keeping a close eye to these cars on the track. Pretty fast laps out there. Can you get to what Jason Keller just did, though?
I think so. I mean, we had about a tenth left in qualifying mode this morning, and the car just responded to so many changes. So I think with the way the draw is and everything, it should cool off a little bit. It's already starting to cool off, so we have a little bit of extra, and I mean, it should. I mean, why? I can't think of a reason why I hadn't. It drove so good all day since we've been here, so we're looking forward to it.
Fun to be back with these Winston Cup guys. I know you want to smear them in the mud or whatever you said.
Stomp their head in the mud.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and we look forward to them when they come. I mean, we look forward to them every time because if we can beat them guys, that means me and my guys will beat the best in the world. And like I said before, if they beat us here tonight or tomorrow, we'll just keep digging until we can torture them every week.
There you go. Torture him every week. He's 8th fastest in practice.
It's just an expression.
I was getting ready to say, that's a lot of big talk for the
We'll
Bobby
see.
Hamilton Jr.
Owner-driver Brett Oakley, the Marflex Valvoline Express Care Chevrolet, 49th in practice, and he's 38th of 39 on his qualifying lap. Bobby?
On the pole so far, Jason Keller. Jason, how was that?
It's all I had. It may get beat, but it's all I had. We knew we had a pretty good race car. We only ran one qualifying run in practice, so just was really hoping that I could at least run that fast, and we ran a little bit faster qualifying. So that lap can be beat, but that's all I got.
And guys, Jason thinks this car is even better for the race setup.
And that's what the real deal is about, especially when you start up front, is being able to stay up front at Bristol.
Shane Meal, 13th on his first lap in the Gould Pumps Chevrolet.
Now, he's proof that you don't have to start at the back for a good finish. He started dead last here after wrecking and qualifying in the spring, actually in the spring race this year, and came back to finish 7th with this very car right here.
Casey Kane, Great Clips Ford.
We talked about Albertsons and Nesquik going away. Great Clips just announced they're going to be on board with this car for 2 additional years, just signed a deal, and that's good news.
Whoa, Knack got a little loose there.
Casey was 19th quickest in practice, actually missed this race a year ago.
23rd for Casey Kane.
Pole sitter from Michigan, just car's very loose. Late exit of the corner, coming up on the back straightaway.
Yeah, you try to put the power down, and if you can't get hooked up and get that forward bite, you have a tendency to break those rear wheels loose here, especially when you're trying to hustle the car.
Faster on the second lap, moves up to 20th.
I'll tell you what, guys, this next car fixing to go out. I mean, a year ago in practice before qualifying, look at this wreck right here. The pictures tell the tale.
Unbelievable.
And this was what the scariest part to me right there. Johnny Sauter in the 2 car coming through there. Look at this. That's where the gate is that goes out turn 2, and then Johnny Sauter coming along. But the great thing is Mike Harmon, he stepped out of the car in the front. I mean, there you see him right in there.
Hitting the gate was not the problem. The problem was the gate was not secure. Neither track nor NASCAR personnel had verified that gate had been bolted shut. And Mike Harmon became the luckiest of drivers, and he walked away.
And actually raced the next day.
So he's back in the fans' car, Chevrolet. Number 44, 36th.
36th.
Going to bump Dion Ciccarelli out of the field. He picks it up on his second lap to 16.19. That's 32nd quickest. That puts Jason White in a 70 car on the bubble.
Mike Wallace, the Geico Denbesti Transportation Chevy, 25th in practice. For Mike, who started 13 Busch Series races here, and qualified 6 times in the top 10.
Again, he was the driver in the James Finch Winston Cup car yesterday at Greenville when the throttle hung, but everything was good. And this team, they just elected to run the rest of the races this year. They've only not showed up for 1 race back in the middle of the season, back at Loudon, New Hampshire, but they will run the remaining races on the schedule.
19th on Mike Wallace's first lap, 15:58.
Mike's picked up a good 10th from practice because he was 25th quickest in practice. Slows down about a 10th, so right now he'll be 19th quickest. That bumps Jason White, puts John Hayden on the bubble.
Marty?
Well, Mike, Matt Kenseth came out and looked for his car, and it wasn't here. He had to go all the way down to inspection, then the gas pumps. He just now got his car, and he is 2 cars from going out now. And my question to you guys, Larry Mack and Jeff, does that frazzle the driver at all? Because he literally just now got into his car to qualify at Bristol.
I mean, I always like to see my driver buckled in that car, being able to sit there and think about it just a little bit. You know, I don't know if it affects someone like Matt Kenseth, but you would tend to think it might.
It's the time of day. Yeah, it's the time of day when you don't want any surprises.
Right, that's exactly right, Mike. You don't want any surprises. You want everything to be smooth. And basically, Matt's over here to have fun and try to learn a little bit. So when things get off a little bit, that doesn't help matters. But talk about somebody being on right now. Michael Waltrip right now is 5th fastest after his first lap. See if he can pick it up here a little bit. He was trying to sit her up on the pole for his sponsor.
Sat on the pole at Richmond back in May. Picks it up, 15:26, but only moves up to 4th. Now, Michael has one win here in the spring of '93, but the biggest thing I remember about Victory Lane, he stood on his head and proposed to his wife today, Buffy.
11 drivers have broken the race record. And there is Michael Waltrip's wreck here. Pretty much same spot as where Mike Harmon hit. You see that was guardrail. That gate was then. Stripped the body from the car, and Michael, again, miraculously climbed out of that car and walked away.
It was the exact same spot that Mike Harmon had his crash a year ago.
Brings Tony Raines out, and he is 5th on his first lap at the Outdoor Channel Chevy.
This car's been pretty good to this group. They ran it twice, have finished 2nd twice with it this year, here in the spring, and then at Richmond back in May. He finished 8th here a year ago.
Well, that's 2 laps, a 2nd lap only 300 slower. That's a car that's right on the mark.
I tell you what, this team, every time they come to a Busch race, they're right on the mark.
They really are.
Tudor and the crew chief and do a good job.
Do a really good job. And Tony told me also, he said he gets to where now he really likes running the Busch races. It gives him an opportunity to kind of work on his rhythm, hit his marks here, get everything kind of right in his mind for Sunday's races. He's been doing really good in the Winston Cup race so far.
Matt Kenseth, the Winston Cup point leader, doing a little moonlighting or bushwhacking, as we call it. The Alka-Seltzer Ford.
He was 18th quickest in practice at a 15:57. Picks it up from practice at a 15:49. He's going to be 14th quickest. Matt did not run the race here in the spring, but he has 2 wins here. Slows down quite a bit on that 2nd lap, so right now he's going to be 14th quickest. That bumps Larry Gunzelman, Tammy Jo Kirk out of the top 36 and puts Mike Harmon on the bubble.
Bob?
Michael Waltrip won't be standing on his head today at Bristol, but how was that lap, Michael?
If I win tomorrow night, I'll stand on my head 10 years and a few months later. That was a special day. I got engaged to my wife. And it's been a special relationship, and just real proud of this Aaron's team. They gave me a great car. I mean, a couple of hundredths. What are you going to do? I think my strategy was off. I wanted to make sure I didn't overdrive the car on the first lap. I let off a little bit sooner than I needed to, and it stuck. I needed to get it all on the first lap, but I was a little bit, whoa.
Look out.
I was a little bit too conservative with my strategy, but I mean, I didn't want to overdrive the car. The fastest way to make time here is to be fast off the turn. I got in just a little bit too easy on the first lap. Picked it up the 2nd lap. You know, that's probably as fast as anybody ran on the 2nd lap, but unfortunately, they don't pay you for whatever you did on the 2nd lap. It's whichever one's the fastest. Thanks to my car, Maytag, RCA, Dale Computers, GE, all the people that make me having a dream machine in my backyard possible.
We're going to hold you to that promise of standing on your head in Victory Lane if you win.
Tim Sauter, the Autotrader.com Chevy, 15.99, 32nd.
Do you know who I saw working on that car today? Oh, David If.
No kidding.
David If. Now, he's a track promoter for the Carolina Speedway down in Gastonia.
Well, Bobby Hamilton Jr. Let's see if he can put it on the Bushwhackers. 15:32 on his first lap. That is 6th fastest. And it's one and done.
And Mike, he went down there in turn 1. He said, boy, that first one was good. The second one's going to be a whole lot better. And guess what? It didn't hook up. She took off for left field.
Knew there was no sense in continuing this program.
As they say, discretion was a better part of valor about that time.
But he didn't leave anything on the table.
No, that young man right there never does.
Nope.
He gives it all or nothing. And I think that right now is what you just saw. He gets up on the wheel.
Every lap.
That'll bump Brad Teague out of the top 36 and back to provisional land, along with Mike Harmon, Larry Gunzelman, Tammy Jo Kirk, and others. Bobby?
Tony Raines explaining to his crew what happened during that qualifying run. So why don't you explain it to us? What happened?
Not enough gas. I didn't use any brakes, but we got a little loose on our second lap there, but we were tight in the middle on both laps down there, and I think we could have run into twos, but it's a good car, same car we ran here in the spring, so no worries, just getting a little bit better.
Tony Raines second during the spring race.
Scott Wimmer on track. And the question mark car right now is the 78 of Caleb Holman, who is 34th. He must make the top 36 to stay here. There are 3 cars to go, and Wimmer has pushed him back a spot. Scott Wimmer 17th on his first lap in the Stacker 2 Chevy.
Yeah, he slowed down a little bit from practice. He just ran a 15:50. He was actually at a 15:46 in practice. Slows down a little bit on his second lap, so right now he's going to be 17th quickest. That puts Stanton Barrett on the bubble. Or Scott will be attempting, you heard him talking earlier with Bob Dillner, attempting to make the Winston Cup race here this weekend.
Mike Bliss, Rockwell Automation Chevy, Craftsman Truck Series champ. And Holman now is 35th, so it's going to be a squeaker, certainly for Caleb Holman, whether he makes this show or not. 2 cars to go. He's got a 1-car cushion. And I think he's about to lose that right here.
Mike was 14th quickest in practice. Just ran a 15:53. He's going to be one and done.
Yeah, that's enough.
These guys, a lot of these guys here running fast, qualified them near the front. I talked about it in the beginning. They can only hold their breath for 15 seconds.
Well, that bumps Stanton Barrett out of the top 36, and it moves Holman's number 78 onto the bubble, literally. Jason Schuler, the Haville Squirrel Ford, number 73, is the last car to qualify. And if he makes the top 36, Holman goes home.
And he was 38th quickest in practice, and his quickest lap, Mike, was a 16:31, which is 3/10 slower than what Holman's qualifying lap is right now.
I believe we were talking about it earlier. We thought about a high 15 or a 16 flat is going to be about where the bubble is, so that's what you got to go ahead and do now. He's got to run a 15:99.5. He wants to get in his show.
First lap won't do it. 16:20. That puts him 42nd quickest. So Caleb Holman just breathed a very short sigh of relief.
What about you about this time right now? I couldn't stand to look at the time. Somebody tell me what happened.
Yep.
Don't take long for it to get over, though. And he beats him. Picks it up to a 15:93. Jason will be 35th quickest, and that bumps Caleb Holman out of the field.
Holman will go home.
On the last car, the last lap.
We'll let you know who's in and who's out. When we come back to Bristol, Jason Keller's our pole sitter.
Tomorrow night, every seat at this place will be packed. About 150,000 to watch Jason Keller lead him to the green flag. And it was a very tough week for this race team on Monday. Jason, you guys made the announcement to all the team members that Albertsons was not coming back. But what a great way to make a statement that this is a race team that deserves a sponsor.
Yeah, it really is. I really love the group of guys I'm working with. And the day they showed their character, man, went out and worked hard. Actually, when we unloaded, we weren't that great. And Steve buckled down, and man, we made a commitment to Albertsons. We're gonna do the very best we possibly can the rest of this year, and we got to get a sponsor on this race car, and I got to have a job for next year. So it's just great to come to a place like Bristol. And you say 150,000 people are going to be here tomorrow night. Probably about 50,000 of those are going to be from Greenville, South Carolina, hopefully cheering me on. So I'm pretty excited about it.
What are the big keys to starting on the pole here? This is your 3rd pole position in Bristol.
Wow, I didn't know there was that many, but really, pit selection is always nice. It's not quite as bad now that they've got the double pit roads like they've got, and it's just one long pit road. But yeah, track position's everything. You can get yourself in trouble anywhere here, but for us, it's good medicine. I mean, we needed to come here. We needed to make a statement. We need to run good, and we need to put something on this race car. So we're gonna enjoy this deal tonight, and we got to work on happy hour in our car. And I don't think I've ever driven that hard to set on the pole. I mean, I really tried to get everything out of it, and the guys gave me a great race car.
He has started 1st, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st in his last 4 Bristol races.
So here's how they'll line up. Jason Keller and Kevin Harvick, a Busch regular and a Bushwhacker. Brian Vickers and Michael Waltrip, same song, second verse. Then Tony Raines, Bobby Jr. Scott Riggs and David Green, the pole sitters from row 4. Super Sub Ted Musgrave and Jay Sauter around the top 10.
Good run for Jay Sauter.
Yes.
That's good to see.
In the hometown favorite car.
Look at Casey Atwood up there in row 6.
With Jamie. Martin Truex Jr., first man to go out. Ended up a lucky 13th next to Hornaday. Matt Kenseth cruised in 15th. Grubb, Wimmer, Meal, Bliss, and Biffle. There's your top 20. And have a look back at the next 10. On back through Jeff Fuller and Brad Baker.
And when you start getting back here, these guys definitely have to roll their sleeves up because they have their work cut out for them when the green flag drops tomorrow night.
Got to get up on the wheel, but we got some really great talent back here when you take a look. Like I say, you got Jeff Fuller back here and Casey Kane. A little further back, you got Casey Mears back in row 16. Former winner Steve Grissom, former champion back here in row 17.
And Tim Sauter got the last time trial spot, 36. The provisionals, Brad Teague from Johnson City, Tammy Jo Kirk, Gunselman and White. Harmon, Mosley, and Stanton Barrett got the final provisional spots. So 9 drivers go home. Now, you may have noticed the grandstand here at Bristol. It's you could introduce the fans to the drivers and save time today. That's because of the big fan fest down in Bristol. That's where everybody is. We had a big crowd for the truck race last night, and tomorrow this place will be packed once again for the Busch and Cup cars. And Saturday night, there are no tickets.
Standing room only, if you could even find that.
Toughest ticket in sports, the Sharpie 500. So, for Bobby Dillner and Marty Snyder, Jeff Hammond, Larry McReynolds, Mike Joy congratulating Jason Keller on his 11th NASCAR Busch Series pole and his 2nd of the season.